Former Forum Labour leaders in Rivers State has condemned the declaration of emergency rule in the state. At a press conference held on Thursday, the forum, led by Achese Igwe, former national president of NUPENG, expressed deep concern over the undemocratic developments in the state. The forum called for the reinstatement of Similaye Fubara, the suspended governor, his deputy Ngozi Odo, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. The group urged the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to take a stand against the unconstitutional suspension of democracy in Rivers State. The forum questioned the legality of the action, highlighting the failure to meet constitutional requirements, specifically the two-thirds majority vote in the National Assembly. The forum also raised concerns about the selective application of the state of emergency in Rivers State, particularly given that other states facing worse security challenges have not seen similar measures. They appealed to the NLC and TUC to act decisively, urging them to join forces with civil society organizations and other well-meaning Nigerians to end the undemocratic practices in Rivers State. They called on Tinubu to reconsider his actions and restore democratic governance in the state. I'll start with you, George, on this one. What do you make of this story?
Okay, I have to say that these former leaders of TUC and NLC are not good role models for Rivers people. You know, these people were here when this whole thing started, and we never saw them issue any statement condemning the actions of the suspended governor, who was the law unto himself, even going against, judgment of competent courts and all that. Today, because they have continued to be crisis merchants who have been benefiting from the suspended governor, have come to issue a statement. What is stopping them from going to court if they feel that the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State is unconstitutional? It's obvious that this set of persons are the people that misled the suspended governor, because they were getting something from him. Sentiment cannot in any way resolve the issue that has engulfed Rivers State. The issue has come to a head where the Supreme Court has given judgment. Unfortunately, the two arms of government, both the executive and the legislature, were the ones that, in the first place caused the problem. So the president latched on that to declare state of emergency. They should allow the sole administrator to finish his mandate of 6 months and restore peace and order. So like I said earlier, these leaders are the wrong leaders. They are not role models for Rivers people, because they have taken sides already from the beginning. And instead of them to do as elders, I saw that they are past leaders or something, they should have taken advantage of that to see how they can reconcile the warring factions. But they took side by supporting, the suspended governor. Now that it has come to a head that the suspended governor is no longer in charge, they are calling for, democracy to be restored. Are we practicing military government in Rivers State? Everything is still going normal. The judiciary is there. The two factions that caused the problem are the ones they said stay aside for 6 months, after which you will be restored. So for me, these are bad role models for Rivers people. They are not doing us any good, because if you can see clearly that they have taken sides, and that is not good for us. These are people who sat here and allowed the governor, without even any statement from them. The governor acted like a despot, as rightly described by the Supreme Court. No word, no statement. All of a sudden, they have regained their voices. What are they saying? What are they saying? They should allow the sole administrator. If they feel the sole administrator is not supposed to be there, let them go to court. Issuing press statement, calling for this and that will not save anything. The sole administrator is here to work for another 5 months, because he has worked for 1 month. And after that time, if the matter is still not resolved, they will still extend this term.
All right, very well. Okay, what do you make of this story?
Well, for me, the labor leaders either passed. This was now. The last time we had an organized labor that had clear-cut direction and stood for the masses was when Adams Oshiomhole was NUC president. He took the government to the cleaners on so many occasions where the wish of a worker stood. So for me, this present set of NLC leaders, I could liken them to children or a child that is throwing tantrum. And when a child is throwing tantrums, you either give the child attention or you give the child lollipop. And as soon as you give the child lollipop, the child will keep quiet. But the person that normally gives them lollipop is no longer on seat. So funny enough, they cannot even get lollipop from the sole administrator. That's why they are throwing tantrums. Like my brother said, if you feel aggrieved, what you think is unconstitutional, the courts are open. You have the Federal High Court to approach. You have the State High Court. Whichever one, leverage on it and go so that we'll have an element of peace in Rivers State. We've had enough crisis. These same labor people, when the workers, Nigerian workers, were shortchanged in terms of salary, given the economic situation of this country, what did they do? When prices of petroleum products were increased to an all-time high, what did they do? And everybody knows that our economy is petroleum driven. And everything is dependent on prices of petrol. And once there's a price or increase in the price of petroleum products, prices of goods and services goes up. But it's quite unfortunate that it's been down less than 1,000 naira. Prices of goods and services are yet to come down. What's the labor union doing to ensure that prices of goods and services that went up by reason of fuel increment of over 1,000 naira today is less than 1,000? What have they done to bring down these prices of goods? What is their interest in Rivers State? You don't cry more than the bereaved. If you go to a burial and you cry more than the bereaved, they will ask you questions. What is your interest? So for me, they are crying more than the bereaved. They should allow Rivers State so that we'll sort ourselves out and come out of this crisis. They shouldn't cry more than Rivers people. What did they do when the governor was disobeying various court judgments, not just court orders from a Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court? Even when this court judgment, Supreme Court judge, he said he has not seen the judgment and he needs to study it before he will implement something that is very clear, crystal clear, and very clear. Even the blind could see that these judgments are judgments that came out of deductive and factual reasoning. They didn't say anything. Today they are coming again to distract our sole administrator. God will not forgive them.
I think that's a harsh statement to use when you say God will not forgive them. Thank you very much. Now I'm still talking about the Rivers emergency rule. This is a purely political move, or I say a purely political intervention by the president. That on one hand, this entire scenario is political. Now, I am trying to understand how NLC and TUC is involved in politics. Because last time I checked, NLC and TUC would always say that their interest is the welfare of the workers, that they represent the workers. They are the pressure group for the workers. Now, so far in Rivers State emergency rule, one worker has not been killed as a result of the fallout of the emergency rule. In fact, none of that, no violence has happened. That's one. Worker salaries have been paid by the sole administrator. So workers right now cannot say they are suffering as a result of the emergency rule. So I'm trying to understand the interests of the labor leaders. I am trying to understand the interest of NLC and TUC in Rivers State politics, as it were.
Okay, like my brother has said, you don't cry more than the bereaved. When you do, people will begin to ask, what is your interest? Obviously, there is something that we are not saying that is making you to cry more than the bereaved. It's obvious that both the past leaders of NLC and TUC in Rivers State and the present ones are sentimental. They are sentimentally attached to the suspended governor. So for them, the lollipop that they were used to is no longer coming. Because the sole administrator will not do it. He doesn't even know them. He doesn't even care. Like you said, the primary responsibility of the NLC and the TUC is the welfare of the workers, the well-being of the workers. Like you said, with the coming of the sole administrator, not even one worker has been killed. Not even one worker has been owed. In fact, the reason for the proclamation and the coming of the sole administrator was to ensure that the workers were paid. Because at some point, when the suspended governor and the House of Assembly were having that loggerhead of budget presentation and all that, the president knew that if this thing continued, it will be the workers that will suffer. And NLC will rise up against the government. So these were part of the things that led the president to declare the state of emergency, to ensure that the workers are taken well care of. Those people who are contractors to the government, who provide essential issues to the government and to the people, are paid. So based on that, the TUC and the NLC are not supposed to come up with this, because it's obvious that they are in tandem with the suspended governor, working for him, because they were getting lollipop. Obviously, now that nothing is coming up, they are coming to cry more than the bereaved. They are, the workers who they represent are well paid. They don't have the
areas.
No. I'm talking about the what they call them. That is pensioners.
Okay.
The pensioners receive their pensions. Those who have just retired receive their gratuities. They receive it. The workers receive it. In fact, Rivers State government is paying based on the current payment that they're supposed to pay workers from, different level, from level 4 or thereabout to the highest level. They pay, Rivers State government pay, as at when due. So the workers should even be, kind of congratulating the sole administrator, who ordinarily is not acting by those laws, who should be cutting corners. Somehow, if you ask me, based on the fact that he's only answerable to the man that appointed him, kind of. But the man is ensuring that the salaries are well paid, as at when due. So they should even congratulate. Instead, because they are no longer getting what they were getting from the suspended governor, they are doing everything to justify all he has given to them in past. Because
when you say what they are getting from the
obviously, like I said earlier,
can you prove that?
No. I told you earlier that the suspended governor was looking for validation from all angles, from every groups, individuals that he knows that has what it takes to move the society. He reaches out to them, and from the statement they make, you will understand that these are biased statements. These people, TUC and NLC, if they are not biased, definitely they will look at the matter like my boy has said earlier. If judgment has been given as TUC, you know that if the governor refuses to work with the House of Assembly, it will affect even the salaries of workers that you claim to protect. You never said anything. The man was acting arbitrarily. You never said anything. All of a sudden, you now woke up and begin to castigate the proclamation of state of emergency, that democracy has died. You never saw democracy being dead as at when the governor refuses to recognize, because he had the power to recognize or de-recognize any other person, even those who were elected like him. So it's obvious that these people are biased. In fact, if I were to be them, if I'm to advise them, they should, at this point, not to come to public to disturb our peace. They should allow us, like our brother said, Rivers State have suffered enough. Right. Let us, see how we can come out of this problem and move forward. With what they are doing, they are causing more crisis.
All right. Very well. Okay, Chukwu.
Yeah, by way of information, also, the sole administrator has also paid the minimum wage, the current new minimum, to the local government workers. Workers are being paid. So what's the problem with this TUC and NLC? For me, I will advise them that this same energy, they should deploy it. They have a party, the Labour Party. They should all deploy this energy to the Labour Party and see how they can serve as an alternative to Nigerians.
Okay.
All right, very well. And on this...